Go.
Hello, this is Desmond Young speaking. I'm the owner of Anglo-American Machine Motorcycle Products, and I'll show you how to install the foot brake side, which is a little bit more work than the gear lever side. And over here are the tools needed and the kit for this side. And assortment of sockets, 10, 14 and 17 combination wrench, pliers, screwdriver and a couple of Allen wrenches. And we're going to start with the removal of the reservoir and the installation of this bracket. The bracket goes on with the lower hole at the bottom, this hole at the bottom, the offset hole, and towards the front. Remove the reservoir. Takes an 8mm hex, regular socket, and at this point you can put the lower piece right on there. Drop the lock nut. I've got another one. The wrench is 8mm. I'm already slacking this off just to speed things up a bit. Remove that. Nice if you clean it all before you do anything. This is the bracket. The offset hole goes on the lower and towards the front. Then you get the lock nut. Put the lock nut on the back. Then you can reinstall. Oh, there's another, an Allen head comes with it, with the kit. 6mm Allen. This you have to do because when you move the master cylinder assembly backwards and down, it stretches the pipe, and it might reach, or it's ever so close that you don't want to take the chance. So put this where it went before. An Allen wrench to just snug this up. There it is. This is step 3, where the banjo fitting was got to be swiveled forward to help with the piping, and it's quite tight first time. So if you loosen this off very, very gently, so you can just move it without letting any air in, you won't have to bleed the brakes. But you have to push the banjo fitting forward like so to give yourself a bit more room. Make sure that you retighten the banjo fitting because the reason why you undo this before you take any of this off is that when this is just hanging in the breeze, when it's all off, it's not very easy. So just snug it back up again, and now we're going to take the foot peg off, the clip off. Just pry it off with a screwdriver. Like that. Take the pin out and look at the way the spring goes in. And push the pin back in. But that's the way the pin and the spring go in. Next I'm going to take this button head out, and it'll take a 6mm hex. On my bike originally, these were hex, and these are now changed to a star or a Torx. Reason being is I laid the bike down and all this lot has been renewed. Remove the chrome bracket and doing that will give you access to removing this little clip, because it's rather awkward when it's tight and all put back together. So the clip's out. Foot pedal's loose. Going to remove the bracket in a second. We're going to remove these as well. These aren't all that tight. There we go. Take all of these off. If you lay everything out in a nice orderly fashion, it's a lot easier when you come to put it all back. And if you got a fairly new bike, well, you won't have much cleaning, but you definitely want to clean everything before you put it back together. Remove the foot pedal. With a 8mm hex. You can use an Allen wrench or hex drive. And this looks like it's Loctited in. It's got a little bit of stiffness on it. Yeah, it's been Loctited. You can do the same. I transfer this now to this piece, which is going to bolt on here. Now, because I've already done this modification on my bike before, but didn't video it, I'd already ground this flat. When they machined the lug, they only went part of the way up that was needed, and when they did that, this bracket wouldn't sit flat. So you may have to go up about maybe 1/8 of an inch, or maybe 1/4 of an inch, but this bracket's got to fit flat. So this goes on. Sorry, put it in the right hole, it'd help. When you get this installed, you might have to run the bolt through first, because there's a little bit of powder coat from the painting in the threads and in the holes. So it just clean them out, and then put this together. And if you've got a vise, torque it up to about 30 foot-pounds. Get the spring in the right place so it's springy. Then, after this is torqued, then put the lock nut on the back. This is a 17mm. And depending how your bike is, you can tighten this up after, but depending how it is, it might get too close to the exhaust pipe. There is a little bit of difference in the way things are made, so you might have to delete putting this this lock nut on. This flange bolt goes in here, and that takes a 15, 14, we'll see, 14. Install. And you have to do this to get everything in its right position. Just install it loosely so you can move it by hand when you need to adjust stuff. Okay, now it's just touching the exhaust there, and I positioned mine about 1/8 of an inch higher. Plenty. 1/8 of an inch clearance, and you can tighten it. Let's see if this is remove. Yes. I changed the design a little bit and put a locking screw in here just for safety, because every time you push on this, and the reaction is it wants to try and move this bracket. So what you do, you get this in the right position. You then put your clevis in there. But install the master cylinder bracket. And when this goes on, this needs to go at a certain angle when it's tight, so that the bracket will fit. If the bracket, the chrome bracket's got to go on there, so this bolt has got to rotate enough to allow that. It might take quite a bit of torque. Everything's getting in the way. Okay, let's see what that's like. Tighten the bolt here, the button head, and make sure that the bolt, the location bolt, goes through the hole. You might have to take a little bit off the bolt, just file it around so it'll fit. I used a grinder, just ground it down. You could elongate the hole, but then you're damaging the chrome, and that's not a good thing to do. So this bolt has got to go through the hole. In actual fact, because this is in the right place, that's also anti-rotation. So if that didn't go in, you've still got this for incredible strength, so it's no problem. Next step is install the where'd it go? The bolts that hold the master cylinder. There's a spacer bracket, and this is why you need to have this with an extra couple of inch of movement, because this has got to push down and over. Originally this wasn't in there. Triumph have changed something, and only after my bike being rebuilt do I see these differences. Like I said, this is a 2009. Just a little bit fiddly. Get that pushed in. I'm pushing against the rubber actually. It needs to come further back. There we go, that's started. Ah, probably do the bottom one first because it won't swing. Take that out. Do the bottom one first, as it won't swing. Live and learn. And this has got to go further back. Tighten the master cylinder to the chrome bracket. On this one there was a spacer plate at the back, and then what you got to check is that your line isn't touching the engine, because you don't want it vibrating against the engine. And you may have to just pull it away by hand a little bit, and then this is where you might need to just twist it a bit. Get your hands round there, just slacken it off ever so slightly so you don't introduce any air, and then rotate it as far as you can. And looks like there's a stop on this master cylinder, and then you're gonna have to reposition the line a little bit. Mine's okay, 1/8 of an inch away from everything, so that's fine. Now we're going to reinstall foot peg. All of this is tight. Anyway, reinstall the foot peg. Make sure this goes into the hole. It will do eventually. Only one winner. Push that on and just snap it. Then make sure it rotates. That way you know that the circlip is tight in the groove. The next step is to reconnect the push rod bracket up, and this may mean that you've got to trim the end of this off. So if you've got to take this off, it means that you have to take all this off again. You may have to go on and off once or twice. And let's see if that'll go in. To get the pin in, you need to loosen the bracket that holds the pedal so it can go up and down. And you may be better off taking about 3/8 of an inch off this, and so you don't preload the brake. And then when you've got that in and correctly adjusted, there we go, put the final clip in. With good push. Well, this is getting in the way. There we go, it's in. So that's in. Now once this is all in its correct position, it's not preloading the brake. As you can see, the wheel rotates, but it's not preloading the piston. And then you may have to take the lock nut off the back it can get close, and if you buy some Loctite, you can always put a little dab of Loctite in there. Then that's in the correct position. Then what you have to do is remove the screw that's in the top here. Drill it with a 730, well, you mark it first, and then you center punch it, then remove this bracket. Just take this bolt off and let it all hang. And once that's done, you drill into the frame about 1/8 of an inch. That's all you need to go, because once you've got a hole in the frame, you then lock this into position where it can't move while you brake. Takes a little bit of fitting, a little bit of moving. If you have any questions, call me. Developing this, I must have had the brake pedals and the gear shift on and off half a dozen times. And once we get this out, after you've drilled the hole for this bolt, the dimple, shall I say, using a 7/32 drill, just dimple it, put this lot back together, tighten this up. When you get the screw in the hole and you get it in and as you move this, it'll go in the right place. Lock it, and you can tighten all this up. Lock the Allen bolt, grub screw. Tighten that. I know I'll get it some way. Tighten the locking screw, and then check that everything is tight up to its torques, and that there's no loading on the brake. And then everything looks just like it's supposed to be, except it's 2 inches back, 1 inch down. And have safe riding experience. Thank you.